Accepts Medicare assignment and full coverage supplemental insurance, so you'll pay as low as $0 out of pocket, which is the same as mail order. Pick up the medications you rely on and save on all major brands like Accucheck and Walgreens TrueMetrics. That's not just good news, it's great news. Talk to your Walgreens pharmacist today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
When it comes to the holidays, the hustle and bustle doesn't stop. Well, unless your car breaks down. Whatever this season brings, it helps to have Hum by Verizon. Hum is the connected car system that assists and empowers drivers. Now you can check your car's health from your phone, get help if you're stuck on the side of the road, and if Hum detects a crash, it can automatically notify emergency services. It's a smart way to stay informed about your car and keep your family safer on the road. This holiday season, get Hum and get where you're going. Visit hum.com or your local Verizon store for special holiday savings.
The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants, the hosts, the guests, and the callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions and views of Southern Stone Communications, WNDB Radio, its employees, and friends. Comments regarding WNDB's programming can be addressed to D. Lang at DaytonaRadio.com.
Live from Daytona Beach, Florida, bringing a voice to America's forgotten working class, speaking the truth for the America that Washington left behind, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. This is Trump Talk Live, where we the people have the right voice, presented by the Republican Party of Volusia County. Here now are your hosts for this episode, Vic Baker and Joe Fieldus.
Greetings, fellow American Patriot Trumppublicans. Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Count Your Blessings episode of Trump Talk Live, the home of fearless truth-telling about our transformational, courageous, visionary President Donald J. Trump and his bold mission to bring bounty to your table, security to your home, and freedom to every law-abiding American who still believes in truth, justice, and the American way. Many of you have gathered in prayer this Thanksgiving around your table of bounty to express your gratitude to the Creator who has given us inalienable rights and a country that stands to defend them. Our lives are on a positive track. America is back because President Trump has your back. He's given the sack to years of failed socialism and government meddling in our lives. This president is keeping his promises. 2, declaring to the world that America is back, and we will put America first. Defend the power of the people to govern their own lives. Drain the D.C. swamp by eliminating unnecessary agencies and by erasing thousands upon thousands of cumbersome regulations that gum up free enterprise and individual rights, auditing every federal agency to uncover rampant fraud, waste, and abuse. Rip off the Band-Aid on that disastrous, unaffordable, festering socialist government medical disaster known as Obamacare. Wipe away 70 pages of tax code gobbledygook and get the IRS off your back with tax reform that will supercharge the economy, unshackle business, create millions of new jobs, and keep more hard-earned cash in the pockets of every hard-working taxpayer. Return trillions of dollars now invested overseas back to the U.S. Unleash the power of free American enterprise and innovation. Stand up for the unborn. Stand up for your right to defend yourself, your family, your livelihood with a gun if needed. Pull out of disastrous global agreements like the Paris Climate Accord and Trans-Pacific Partnership. Strike better trade deals for America around the globe. Make our NATO allies and others pay a fair share for mutual defense. Stand firm against rogue regimes like North Korea and Iran, and defend the world against their menacing maneuvers. Give our military commanders the authority to respond to threats on their own, freeing our military to get the job done in the field. Eradicate ISIS, the Taliban, and other terrorist criminals from the face of the earth. Defend the U.S. border and build a wall so that America is open only to those who come here legally. Approve the Keystone XL and Dakota pipelines, greenlighting exploration on federal lands and offshore, releasing the immense untapped potential of America's oil and gas reserves. The land of the free and home of the brave will no longer be held hostage by dependence on foreign oil from suppliers who hate our way of life. reshape our federal courts so the U.S. Constitution, the greatest document of governance conceived by mankind, remains supreme in our land. That started with Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. Stand up for your First Amendment free speech rights, whether you bake a cake or preach from the pulpit. Restrict immigration with extreme vetting and limiting entry to the U.S. by potential terrorists who want to come here to do us harm or to kill us outright. Revive American primacy in space for military defense, for exploration, with a return to the moon and humankind's first footsteps on Mars. Put mud puddles and ditches on your private property back under your control. Give control of schools back to local communities and give parents the choice to choose schools that will best educate their children. Take care of our veterans to whom so much is owed with the VA Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act, along with laws to allow veterans to get coverage for private care when the VA fails. Roll back Dodd-Frank regulations that restrict community banks and credit unions from supporting business investment on Main Street America. Cut miles and miles of red tape to expedite the rebuilding of American business, industry, healthcare, and essential infrastructure. Make America great again by working full-time 7 days a week to unravel the monstrous federal bureaucracy and the swamp dwellers, Democrat and Republican alike, who have fed the beast for decades. And do it all for free without taking a dime in federal salary. So, say a prayer of thanks to God for giving this nation Donald J. Trump, the only man who could get this done at a time when decent, hardworking Americans were yearning for a leader to take us back to that shining city on a hill. This Thanksgiving episode of Trump Talk Live is pre-recorded. We come to you from the Daytona Beach studios of WNDB 93.5 FM, 1150 AM. You can listen to us online at TrumpTalkLive.com if you can't get the radio signal. The video version of this broadcast can be seen on the Volusia County Republican Facebook page, Citizens for Trump Facebook page, and on the Vic Baker channel through YouTube. Just search for Trump Talk Live in quotes to find the channel on YouTube. Our thanks, as always, to the capable crew from the Volusia County Teenage Republicans, led by TAR's chairman, Duncan DeMarsh, assisted by Ian Escalante and Malcolm Swaggerty. They help bring our broadcast alive and keep it alive with graphics. I'm your truth-telling Trumpublican host, Vic Baker, a 10th great-grandson of Chief Osamakan Massasoit, the Rhode Island Indian chief who made peace with the Pilgrim Plantation Pilgrims and brought venison to the first Thanksgiving feast in 1621. How about that? I'm joined by the 2016 Volusia chairman of the Trump-Pence campaign and veteran blogger, Joe Fieldus. Joe, we have a bounty of blessings to count tonight.
Yes, we do, Vic. And hello, friends. If you're listening or watching live, it means you're not paying any attention to NFL football. Good for you. It's also likely that you've already enjoyed a nice meal, and we thank God for the blessing of plentiful food. We live in such an amazing country. I was watching the Weather Channel today, and they said 55 million of us are traveling for Thanksgiving. Think about that number. 55 million people on the move. It's mind-boggling. When we became a nation in 1776, the entire population of the 13 colonies was 2.5 million souls. Surely the founding fathers never could have imagined the country we are today. And yet the system of self-government they designed for us has not only survived, but flourished. How is it possible? It might be that the founders knew something about the spirit within human hearts. Here's what they said. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and the laws of God entitle them. Note the reference to God. They went on to say, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Note the reference to our Creator. Then they finished the thought by saying that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. These are the words that changed everything. and they were met with anger and scorn by the ruling class elites of Europe. Who do these people think they are? They are subject to their king to be ruled over. They are nothing but farmers and merchants, and their leaders are traitors who will soon be put to death. And yet, by the grace of God, here we still are, over 241 years later, and still working to improve our revolutionary dream, because we know the great experiment of America is ongoing. Ronald Reagan told us this. He said, "Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same." Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Vic, let's roll.
Well, Joe, we have a lot to talk about, but we're going to talk mostly in this show, the rest of the show, about the many blessings for which we are grateful, that we will count and we will thank God for Donald Trump providing. In any case, we're going to perhaps not use a lot of sound bites here, but we're going to run down the news of the week before we go to our break, and we come back with the Thanksgiving portion of our show. Now, this week, Donald Trump this week has designated North Korea a state sponsor of terrorism. George W. Bush lifted that in a naive belief that North Korea would be straightening its act out. Donald Trump knows better. We're tightening the screws with additional sanctions on them. The screws are tightening tighter and tighter and tighter. The president announced that at his cabinet meeting this week. Also, he just said that tax reform will be a huge Christmas gift for America. We probably have a soundbite on that. Number 2, if we can go to the graphic on tax reform.
I want to congratulate the House of Representatives for passing a vital and historic tax cut last week, and I'm very hopeful the Senate will do the same very soon. We're going to give the American people a huge tax cut for Christmas. Hopefully that will be a great, big, beautiful Christmas present. With the Democrats giving us no votes for tax cuts for purely political reasons, obstructionists, it will be up to the Republicans to come through for America. I think they will. I hope they will. It's up to the Senate. And if they approve it, the House and the Senate will get together. I'll be there right in the middle of it, and we will come up with a bill that will be spectacular for growth and spectacular for the people of this country.
Sarah Sanders, the White House press secretary, at the briefing this week, reminded the reporters that Americans should be able to give thanks for tax reform because of Donald Trump. And here's what she had to say. Number 1.
In recent months, we've heard from American entrepreneurs, workers, and families from every corner of our nation about how this plan will empower them to build a better life. In Pennsylvania, Susie Schulman said that our plan will be, quote, incredible for me and other fixed income retirees, end quote, because tax relief is targeted at the middle class. In Ohio, Christina Port, a small business owner who raised twins as a single mother while launching her company, said the increase in the child tax credit would help working mothers. She also said simplifying the complex tax code would ease the burden on entrepreneurs and allow them to devote more of their time to growing their business rather than wrestling with their taxes. In state after state, story after story, we've heard how our plan will profoundly improve the lives of hardworking Americans. The optimism is coming back because with this tax plan, combined with the president's efforts to eliminate job-killing regulations, Americans feel like their goals are once again attainable. It's a reminder of one of the things that made our country unique to begin with. Our people have always been able to visualize a future for themselves and their children and make it a reality.
Sarah Sanders laying it out, and good reason to give thanks. The president has just recently added 5 more conservative judges to the short list of potential Supreme Court nominees. We know he's reshaped the courts. We'll talk more about that later. FCC head Ajit Pai, who was a big opponent of net neutrality, is set to have the FCC reverse Obama's declaration that the internet is a utility so the government can get its hands on regulating it. Ajit Pai has told Reason.com, net neutrality rules governing the actions of internet service providers and mobile carriers over the coming years, he said, we're going to see an explosion in the kinds of connectivity and the depth of connectivity. He said, ultimately, that means the human capital in the United States that's currently on the shelf, people who don't have digital opportunity, will become participants. He stressed that regulating the internet under Title II, dating back to the 1930s, had led to less investment in infrastructure, a slower rate of innovation. Since the dawn of the commercial internet, ISPs have been investing as much as they can in networks in order to upgrade their facilities and to compete with each other. He says, outside of a recession, we've never seen that sort of investment year after year. We did so in 2015 after the Obama regulations were adopted. Responsible for a 6% decline in broadband network investment. So it's not doing what they said it would do, as just an Orwellian trick of language to say that net neutrality is a benefit. No, when you free the markets will sustain it, Joe.
Vic, there's forces in our country and in our government that would like to see our internet be the Chinese internet, which, of course, is totally controlled by the government.
Right. We're going to finish just another item or two here, just to mention Judge Roy Moore. The stories of the accusers are falling apart. The yearbook was a fraud. The timelines are completely bogus. Gloria Allred should be disbarred. Judge Moore is ahead by 10 points in 3 respectable polls. And those who know things about Alabama say that if it says 10 points in the polls, it'll probably be more than that. He's going to be in the Senate, so get used to it. As for Senator Al Frankengroper, his money is being returned by Democrats, and nobody wants his money anymore, his dirty money or his dirty hands. So Al can have his money back and his respectability, if he had any, which I don't think he did.
I don't think Saturday Night Live wants him back either.
I don't think they want him back either. They did a little skit on him this past week. So he's toast, as other liberal icons. Charlie Rose, fired by CBS, PBS, 60 Minutes, and Bloomberg TV for being a prolifically chronic groper and assaulter of women. And it just goes on and all. These liberal icons are falling like flies.
The White House correspondent for the New York Times is suspended, waiting on being fired.
Glenn Thrush, New York Times
yeah.
White House reporter. He's also on the ropes, and it's confirmed that Fusion GPS, that dirty money outfit that was dealing the dossier and the smear on Trump, that Fusion GPS, which was paid more than $1 million by Hillary Clinton and the DNC, paid journalists amid the Trump-Russia collusion hysteria and made the stuff up. So that's our summary, folks. We'll be back in a moment with our Thanksgiving edition.
Stay with us for more fearless truth-telling on Trump Talk Live, making America great again.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
A Motown Christmas Spectacular comes to the Peabody for one night only, December 16th. Starring the Motortown All-Stars, assembled from members of the Miracles and the Capitals and former members of the Temptations. With special guest stars, the Marvelettes.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
December 16th at the Peabody Daytona. Tickets at PeabodyDaytona.com, Peabody Box Office, or call 800-982-ARTS.
Stay with us for information you'll never get from the left-wing media, right here on Trump Talk Live, where the deplorables are ignored no more.
And the deplorables gather in thanks this Thanksgiving. Okay, we're going to count our blessings, starting with President Trump. The turkey named Drumstick can count his blessings that President Trump gave him a Thanksgiving season pardon yesterday. And the president preferred his wishes and prayers for America on that occasion.
As we gather together with our families on Thanksgiving and give thanks for our many blessings, we are reminded of the national family to which we all belong as citizens of this incredible country. This Thursday, as we give thanks for our cherished loved ones, let us also renew our bonds of trust, loyalty, and affection between our fellow citizens as members of a proud national family of Americans.
That was on Tuesday when the president pardoned Drumstick. Now, the world, WND.com has put out a website called Thank Trump US. listing the many accomplishments of the Trump administration for which we can give thanks this year. Let's go to some of those graphics. You can go to thanktrump.us, and you can pick a different card to send to the president based on whatever you want to say, magnificent, or what happened? Trump happened. Well, this list, on camera, this list is prolific, and you can see why the Democrats are so befuddled because they cannot keep up with this man. So let's start. We're going to go in reverse chronological order to the most recent Asia trip, which was a triumph, where President Trump inked trade and investment deals worth more than $250 billion during his Asian tour. These deals promise to create millions of new jobs for American workers, farmers, and ranchers by increasing U.S. exports to China and stimulating investments in American communities. And we're going to go to the sound from that.
As two distinctive countries, our two sides may have different views or differences on some issues. This is only natural. The key is to properly handle and manage them. There is far more common interest between our two countries than differences.
We want a vibrant trade relationship with China. We also want a fair and reciprocal one. Today, I discussed with President Xi the chronic imbalance in our relationship as it pertains to trade and the concrete steps that we'll jointly take to solve the problem of the massive trade distortion. This includes addressing China's market access restrictions and technology transfer requirements, which prevent American companies from being able to fairly compete within China.
You notice our president was not afraid to speak the plain truth in Beijing to the leader of the Chinese people. So we'll go on to the next one. Government transparency. November 9th, President Trump released more than 13,000 additional documents from the JFK assassination files. A lot of information that has been hidden for 50 years and more. And then on November 6th, the the Department of Agriculture issued guidance to assure that Christians opposing same-sex marriage would not face discrimination for their beliefs. On November 2nd, for job growth, President Trump announced that semiconductor manufacturer Broadcom Limited is moving its corporate headquarters from Singapore to the United States. Broadcom is a Fortune 100 company that already employs more than 7,500 workers in the United States. The number will grow exponentially with an estimated $20 billion investment. And then government reform. EPA Director Scott Pruitt placed 66 new experts on 3 different EPA scientific committees who espouse more conservative views than predecessors. Pruitt also banned scientists who receive EPA grants from serving on the agency's independent advisory boards. Joe?
That's just common sense, isn't it?
Well, it's taking the fix out of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, go on to October now, to October 25th on job growth. The Trump White House announces new drone integration pilot program to provide guidance for introducing widespread use of commercial drones into American airspace. This means it's meant to enhance safety while advancing technology for commercial services, including deliveries and aerial photography. Holy cow. Now, government reform, the next category. First Lady Melania Trump is running one of the leanest White House operations in recent history. A Fox News analysis reveals that just 4 people were on the FLOTUS staff as of June, with a payroll of under $500,000. By contrast, Michelle Obama had a staff of 16 with a payroll of $1.25 million. Obamacare, October 12th. Now, Congress can't get it done, but the president can do some things himself. President Trump signed an executive order directing 3 federal agencies to rewrite regulations encouraging establishment of cheaper health plans. These plans would be available across state lines, not subject to costly Obamacare rules and restrictions. This order would allow small business owners, trade groups, and others to join together in associations to negotiate for cheaper group policies. President Trump also wants to expand sale of stopgap policies that don't cover pre-existing conditions, mental health, or other costly benefits. Next one. Consumer optimism. October 13th study by University of Michigan reveals U.S. consumer sentiment unexpectedly surged to a 13-year high as America's perceptions of the economy and their own finances rebound. This in spite of several major hurricanes, Joe.
It's, the 55 million that are moving on Thanksgiving today is also part of optimism. People are happy again.
That's right. Now, Iran nuclear deal, decertified. October 13th, President Trump announces he will not certify the Iran nuclear deal. Trump vows the U.S. will pull out of the agreement unless changes are made. Let's listen to the president.
The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. The Iranian regime continues to fuel conflict, terror, and turmoil throughout the Middle East and beyond. Importantly, Iran is not living up to the spirit of the deal.
Next item, October 2017. The U.S. is quitting the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, better known as UNESCO. This is based on U.S. concern with mounting arrears at UNESCO and the need for fundamental reform, and because of its ongoing anti-Israel bias.
That was long overdue. Thank you, President Trump.
Yes. Homeland Security, October 10th. The Supreme Court dismisses a major challenge to President Trump's travel ban on majority Muslim countries because it had been replaced by a new version. The ruling is seen as a victory for the Trump White House, which asked for a dismissal. President Trump signed a new order September 24th, replacing the temporary travel ban on 6 nations with a new indefinite ban affecting 8 countries, and some additional non-Muslim countries were included. The new order made the old challenge moot. Now, next item, EPA reform. On October 9th, EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt announced new rules to override Obama's Clean Power Plan. The agency is moving to undo, delay, or block more than 30 job-choking environmental rules, the largest rollback of regulation in the 47-year history of the EPA.
Our President Nixon
created
the EPA, and it's been a disaster almost ever since. They have us in a straitjacket, and the straitjacket's coming off.
That's right. I mean, reasonable protection of the environment is certainly right, but when they're just doing it for the sake of choking businesses is not. Immigration. On October 8th, President Trump submits his 70-point proposal on immigration to Congress. The Trump plan includes funding and completion of a southern border wall, expedited removal of illegal aliens, protecting innocent people in so-called sanctuary cities, ending extended family chain migration, and establishing a merit-based point system for green cards to protect U.S. workers and taxpayers. Oh, yes. Religious liberty, October 6th. Attorney General Jeff Sessions issues a guidance to all federal administrative agencies and executive departments to ensure the constitutionally guaranteed religious freedoms of Americans are lawfully protected. As second memorandum to the Department of Justice directs implementation of the religious liberty guidance within the department. Americans, he said, do not give up their freedom of religion by participating in the marketplace, partaking of the public square, or interacting with government, and government may not restrict acts or abstentions because of the beliefs they display. Good for you, Attorney General Sessions. He was actually busier than we realized, Joe.
Why isn't this on every channel? These are things that happen. This isn't a commentary. These are things that he has done.
That's correct. On further with religious liberty. The Trump administration expands religious and moral exemptions for mandated contraceptive coverage under Obamacare. Obamacare required that nearly all insurance plans cover abortion-inducing drugs and contraception, forcing citizens to violate sincerely held religious and moral beliefs, pay steep fines, or forego offering or obtaining health insurance entirely. The interim final rules note the United States has a long history of providing conscience protections in the regulation of healthcare entities and individuals with objections based on religious beliefs and moral convictions. The rule aligns with the U.S. Supreme Court's unanimous ruling protecting the Little Sisters of the Poor, which says, the government cannot fine religious groups for following their faith. Let's listen to Trump number 4.
We're putting this country back on a lawful path, a constitutional path, a path that respects religious faith. The cake baker has more than just a personal view here. He has a religious view, and he feels that he is not being able to freely exercise his religion by being required to participate in a ceremony in some fashion that he does not believe in. So we think that right is a fundamental right and ought to be respected as we work through this process. I think we've had a slide over quite a number of years in which courts and advocates and politicians have disrespected the primacy of law, and that has long-term damaging effects for the country, and we're trying to get us back on the traditional view that protects us all in the long run.
So let's just say amen to that, brother, as we go, Joe, to our next break.
Stay with us for more fearless truth-telling on Trump Talk Live. making America great again.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
A Motown Christmas Spectacular comes to the Peabody for one night only, December 16th. Starring the Motortown All-Stars, assembled from members of the Miracles and the Capitals and former members of the Temptations. With special guest stars, the Marvelettes.
Oh yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
December 16th at the Peabody Daytona. Tickets at PeabodyDaytona.com, Peabody Box Office, or call 800-982-ARTS.
Stay with us for information you'll never get from the left-wing media, right here on Trump Talk Live, where the deplorables are ignored no more.
Okay, we are very thankful for our sponsors, Marino's Pizza in DeLand. Maybe after Thursday's over, you'll stop by for a pizza at Marino's. Milne Roofing, 386-986-8688, Milne Roofing. Sonia Mori, make her your State Farm agent. Ask Sonia for an insurance checkup. She's in DeLand. Vic.
Thank you, Joe. Now, continuing in our cavalcade of Trump accomplishments, let's go to immigration, October 4th. We give thanks for this. House Homeland Security Committee gives first approval to the broad scope of President Trump's border wall, clearing the path for a bill that would authorize a $10 billion appropriation for the wall, and new waivers to speed up construction, and 10,000 more border agents and officers to patrol the U.S.-Mexico line. Space exploration. That's important on the Space Coast, not too far down from here, and it affects our economy as well. October 5th, President Trump revives the National Space Council for the first time in 25 years. Vice President Mike Pence chairs the council's first meeting October 5th. The council will aim for a renewed American presence on the moon, and from that platform become the first nation to bring humans to Mars. The council will also focus on space technology to protect U.S. military effectiveness in space, including our satellites, which could come under assault. Next item, abortion. October 2nd, the Trump OMB, Office of Management and Budget, issues a policy statement strongly supporting the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act, which would generally make it unlawful for any person to perform or attempt to perform an abortion of an unborn child 20 weeks post-fertilization. Protecting life again. October 1st, President Trump issues a statement renewing America's strong commitment to promoting the health, well-being, and inherent dignity of all children and adults with Down syndrome. The Trump HHS publishes a draft of a new strategic plan that states life begins at conception.
Yes.
Okay, and we'll have the split screens up because it'll work for us. Yeah. Tax reform. President Trump is working with Congress to lower taxes for businesses in the American middle class. Goes without saying. We expect that by Christmas. Now to September. Federal courts. September 28th, President Trump announces an eighth wave of new judicial nominees. The president has proven wildly successful in naming youthful conservative nominees with strong legal credentials, creating a pool of judges who will reshape the federal courts for a generation to come.
So important, Vic.
Yep, long time overdue. America First, September 2017, the Commerce Department sides with Boeing and slaps a 219% tariff on import of Canadian-made Bombardier jets, arguing they are supported by subsidies from Canada and the UK. President Trump begins renegotiating a free trade agreement with South Korea. Next item, climate. In September 2017, President Trump shuts down a climate change advisory panel that was under the direction of NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. That's a mouthful, Joe.
NOAA.
Critics contend the panel was formed to promote President Obama's climate agenda and lacked the representation from those who think the empirical evidence points to human actions contributing a little to global warming. Homeland Security, September 2017. President Trump signs an executive order to enhance vetting and screening to detect attempted U.S. entry by terrorists and other public security threats. North Korea, September 2017. President Trump warns of fire and fury and refuses to rule out nuclear retaliation after North Korea threatens U.S. and Asian neighbors with missile strikes. possible nuclear missile strikes. This is a stark departure from 25 years of U.S. appeasement tactics with the rogue nation. U.S. deploys the THAAD defensive missile system to South Korea despite objections from China. Trump signs an executive order significantly expanding U.S. authority to target individuals, companies, and financial institutions that facilitate or finance trade with North Korea, most of which are Chinese. China's central bank has ordered its banks to immediately stop doing business with North Korea. Here's President Trump. Cut 5.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. He has been very threatening beyond a normal statement. And as I said, they will be met with fire, fury, and frankly, power, the likes of which this world has never seen before. Thank you.
Joe, that opened a lot of eyes, and a lot of people thought he was being rather reckless with that, but it seems to me that get tough strategy, like Reagan's get tough strategy with the Soviets, is working.
That was very deliberate. That kind of language has not been heard, directed at North Korea specifically in a long time, decades, and it was meant to get attention, and I think it did.
No more Mr. Nice Guy. Next item, September 2017, United Nations. In his first speech to the UN General Assembly, President Trump tells the global body, I put America first and you should do the same with your nations. He denounces the evil of socialism and communism, pointing to Venezuela as a stark example of what happens when socialism actually succeeds.
As President of the United States, I will always put America first. Just like you, as the leaders of your countries, will always and should always put your countries first. All responsible leaders have an obligation to serve their own citizens, and the nation state remains the best vehicle for elevating the human condition. But making a better life for our people also requires us to work together in close harmony and unity to create a more safe and peaceful future for all people.
Also September 2017, DACA dumped. President Trump rescinds Obama's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals order, which illegally gave de facto amnesty to some 800,000 people who came to America as children with their illegal alien parents. Trump delayed implementation 6 months to give Congress a time to clean up its act and come up with a legal solution.
Vic, that last piece on it was aimed at the globalists when he talked about national sovereignty and leaders taking care of their own people. That is, the globalists want us to think we're all one world neighbors or some kind of dream like this. If you don't take care of your own people, how can your country thrive?
Exactly. Now, also, stock market soaring in September. Through the first week of September, the Dow Jones Industrial Average had 34 record highs under Trump. The markets have created more than $4 trillion in wealth since Trump was elected. This is no accident. It's the first time since a bull market has had such a run. It's never happened before. North Korea, back to North Korea. August 2017, the U.S. initiates a UN Security Council resolution establishing sanctions to cut North Korea's export revenue by 1/3. Let's listen to Nikki Haley.
The images from space of Northeast Asia at night show brightness and prosperity surrounding a dark, lonely space that is North Korea. Those images are a good illustration of where the North Korean regime is today. It is alone, it is dark, and it's getting darker. North Korea's neighbors, its trading partners, and the entire international community are united against its dangerous and illegal actions. Today's resolution builds on what were already the deepest cutting sanctions ever leveled against North Korea. We've been down this road before. The Security Council has expressed its condemnation. We've leveled sanctions. But today is different. We are acting in response to a dangerous new development, North Korea's September 3rd test of a claimed hydrogen bomb. Today we are saying the world will never accept a nuclear-armed North Korea. And today the Security Council is saying that if the North Korean regime does not halt its nuclear program, We will act to stop it ourselves.
And those sanctions were enacted on September 11th of this.
Joined by China and Russia, unanimous.
That's correct. We've got them all in line. That shows what real leadership's about. Let's look at the economy again. We're going into August 2017. National Federation of Independent Business says its Small Business Optimism Index has reached 105.3, the highest since 2006, an 11% jump since the week before Trump was elected. The Wells Fargo Gallup Small Business Index says small business owners are the most optimistic since 2007. The Bloomberg Consumer Comfort Measure reaches a 16-year high. The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index rises in July to a near 16-year high. Job growth. August 2017, the Bureau of Labor Statistics reports nearly 1.3 million new jobs have been created during Trump's first 200 days. Obama saw a loss of more than 4.1 million jobs during the same time period in his presidency. U.S. manufacturing. During Trump's first 6 months, manufacturing index the highest level since 1983 under Ronald Reagan. Cutting red tape. Let's go to this one. August 2017, President Trump aims to dramatically reduce permitting time for infrastructure projects from 10 years down to 2 maximum, spurring investment and job creation as we rebuild America. Trump told this very telling story, and you'll listen to him dropping one of the big binders on the floor that was required for a project.
One gentleman from Maryland was talking about a 18-mile road, and he brought with him some of the approvals that they've gotten and paid for. They spent $29 million for an environmental report weighing 70 pounds and costing $24,000 per page. Okay. These binders on the stage could be replaced by just a few simple pages. And it'd be just as good. It would actually be much better. Because these binders also make you do unnecessary things that cost billions and billions of dollars, and they actually make it worse.
Vic, a lot of that binder was EPA regulations. It's just a shakedown.
It was. And yeah, I mean, I developed a project up north, I'll make it a very short story, where we had a piece of a quarter of an acre where one building was supposed to be on this housing project that I was involved in developing with the church. And we had to buy a piece of land, reserve a piece of land in what was called a land bank for $24,000 in order to build on that so-called protected wetlands, which had been a cornfield for 100 years. It was because of certain vegetation was on the land. It's ridiculous.
Hundreds and thousands of stories just like that.
It's altered reality.
Yeah.
Immigration, 2017. Trump ends the Central American Minors Parole Program that spurred a flood of minors down to the U.S. from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras under Obama. Cyber defense. Moving on to cyber defense, August 2017. President Trump elevates the Department of Defense Cyber Command to the status of Unified Combatant Command. Very important. Transgender military. This is controversial. August 2017, President Trump directs the military not to move forward with Obama's controversial mandate allowing recruitments of transgenders for the first time. There are transgenders in the military, and that is going to be wading its way through the courts. We'll see what happens. VA reform. 2017, August, President Trump signs the Veterans Appeals Improvement and Modernization Act, streamlining and speeding up the lengthy process veterans endure when appealing disability claims with the VA. More than 470,000 veterans awaiting decisions. President Trump also signs the Harry Comrie Veterans Education Assistance Act, providing educational benefits to veterans. Welfare reform, August 2017. More than 1.1 million fewer Americans are on food stamps compared to the Obama era. Trump HHS rescinds an Obama directive that had allowed states to request waivers on work requirements for welfare. No more work waivers for welfare. You got to work. Now, August 2017, Opioid America. In 2017, Trump Department of Justice launches an opioid fraud and abuse unit to fight abuses of the painkiller. And Second Amendment, August 2017, Trump Department of Justice terminates Operation Choke Point, which was an Obama-era program that encouraged banks to refuse doing business with so-called high-risk businesses. This was used to target legal gun dealers.
Yep.
Joe.
Yep. Vic, I hope that Fox News will take Shep Smith off the air for one day and put this show on. What you're reading right now is unknown news to a lot of Americans.
Yeah, exactly. Go back to July now. GDP hits 3% in July of 2017. The American economy is growing under Trump. Second quarter growth doubled over the first quarter. Donald Trump presidency sees 2 consecutive quarters of 3% growth, something we never saw under Obama. Energy, July 2017. Trump keeps his campaign promise to coal miners, rolling back Obama's stream protection rule, which targeted the industry with estimated costs of $81 million a year. And we will be back with more of the accomplishments, which we're going to run out of time for in a moment.
Stay with us for more fearless truth-telling on Trump Talk Live, making America great again.
Feeling stuck in a state of compensation stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
A Motown Christmas Spectacular comes to the Peabody for one night only, December 16th. Starring the Motortown All-Stars, assembled from members of the Miracles and the Capitals and former members of the Temptations. With special guest stars, the Marvelettes.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
December 16th at the Peabody Daytona. Tickets at PeabodyDaytona.com, Peabody Box Office, or call 800-982-ARTS.
Stay with us for information you'll never get from the left-wing media, right here on Trump Talk Live, where the deplorables are ignored no more.
Okay, I wanted to say a big Thanksgiving thank you to our newest sponsor, South Daytona Storage Offices. Call them 386-262-1857.
Give thanks. Okay, made in the USA, July 2017. Donald Trump has convinced American companies, including Ford, Chrysler, Carrier Air Conditioners, to manufacture and build more plants in the U.S. Corning announces a $500 million investment in new U.S. production, creating 1,000 new jobs. Foxconn, the world's largest contract electronics manufacturer, they make iPhones, by the way, announces it will invest $10 billion in Wisconsin to build a factory employing 3,000 American workers directly and up to 22,000 indirectly. How about that? We're going to move on. Killing ISIS, July 2017. Trump ends a CIA program that was arming so-called moderate Syrian rebels after previous such efforts actually wound up aiding radical Islamists, including ISIS and the radical cutthroats who killed 4 Americans in Benghazi. After months of heavy fighting, Iraqi coalition forces finally push ISIS out of Mosul in July. The U.S. is also aiding the Philippines against ISIS. Draining the swamp. July 2017, President Trump creates the Office of American Innovation to streamline and improve the efficiency of government operations, reducing duplication, eliminating obsolete agencies and functions. He signs an executive order implementing tough new lobbying standards for political appointees, including a 5-year ban on lobbying and a lifetime ban on lobbying for foreign countries after leaving office. Healthcare fraud crackdown. July 2017, the Trump DOJ charges more than 400 people, including doctors and medical facilities, accused of prescribing unnecessary opioids to addicts. Plugging the illegal leaks. Attorney General Jeff Sessions and the DOJ cracked down on illegal leaks of classified information, pursue 3 times more investigations during the first 6 months of Trump than during Obama's administration. Going to June, oil pipelines. In June, President Trump approves the Dakota Access Pipeline project and construction of the Keystone XL oil pipeline from Canada, expected to create more than 42,000 barrels a day. Listen to number 11.
It's a great day for American jobs and a historic moment for North America and energy independence. This announcement is part of a new era of American energy policy that will lower costs for American families and very significantly reduce our dependence on foreign oil and create thousands of jobs right here in America. And I also would like to add, I think it's a lot safer to have pipelines than to use other forms of transportation for your product.
President Trump, Cuba, June 2017. He rolls back the Obama agreement with Cuba. Trump contends it aided the repressive Cuban regime at the expense of its oppressed people. And we're going to move on to property rights. In June, President Trump issues an executive order to begin the process of rescinding Obama's 2015 Waters of the United States rule, which was used to broadly expand U.S. government control over private land. It applied to so-called navigable waters of the United States, which under the broad definition included man-made ditches and water puddles that accumulated after a heavy rain, Joe.
That's your EPA.
Even your swimming pool would have been considered. Now, Paris Climate Accord scam dumped. June 2017, President Trump pulls the U.S. out of the global agreement, which, according to a study by NERA Consulting, could have cost the U.S. economy nearly $3 trillion and could have killed 6.5 million industrial sector jobs. It was a scam. Let's listen to number 13.
We have among the most abundant energy reserves on the planet, sufficient to lift millions of America's poorest workers out of poverty. Yet under this agreement, we are effectively putting these reserves under lock and key, taking away the great wealth of our nation. It's great wealth. It's phenomenal wealth. Not so long ago, we had no idea we had such wealth. And leaving millions and millions of families trapped in poverty and joblessness.
Wow.
NATO. President Trump's urging of NATO members to pay their fair share of the cost for mutual defense results in a $10 billion increase in allied contributions. Let's listen to number 14.
NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations. But 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense.
Russian sanctions. June 2017, President Trump implements the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act, which blacklists certain Russian citizens for human rights violations. Next, border enforcement. ICE arrests an average of 13,000 people each month from February through June. Obama averaged only about 9,100 arrests per month. And the Trump Homeland Security has canceled the Deferred Action for Parents of Americans program. The Obama program would have granted amnesty to 4 million illegal immigrants. Afghanistan, June. Trump gives Pentagon the authority to set troop levels in Afghanistan. The increased military authority is also seen with U.S. operations in Somalia. VA reform. President Trump in June signs the Veterans Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. The new law gives VA officials the authority to fire failing employees, establishing safeguards to protect whistleblowers. The VA has already fired hundreds of employees.
That was a true breakthrough right there. Very, very important.
Let's listen to Trump.
Many veterans died waiting for a simple doctor's appointment. What happened was a national disgrace. And yet, some of the employees involved in these scandals remained on the payrolls. Outdated laws kept the government from holding those who failed our veterans accountable. Today, we are finally changing those laws. It wasn't easy, but we did have some fantastic help to make sure that the scandal of what we suffered so recently never, ever happens again.
Okay, now, that's important. But now let's talk about this. Education, rolling back Title IX. That's where they're using that Sex Discrimination Act to do all sorts of ridiculous persecutions of people on campus. He's rolled that back. In the Mideast, this is important. President Trump makes an historic visit to the Mideast, including Israel and Saudi Arabia. He addresses 50 Muslim nations of the world, calling on them to combat radical Islamic terrorists and to drive them out of this earth.
It's a choice between two futures, and it is a choice America cannot make for you. A better future is only possible if your nations drive out the terrorists and drive out the extremists. Drive them out. Drive them out of your places of worship. Drive them out of your communities. Drive them out of your holy land. And drive them out of this earth.
That's
Vic, the very first place our president went when he started his foreign trips was Saudi Arabia. That was part of the speech he gave there. It's a new day in Saudi Arabia. Can't go into it here, but please go online and you can look up news that's happening out of Saudi Arabia that's going to change everything.
Okay, moving on to the next item. Okay, Trump strikes Syria after the horrible chemical weapons attacks launched against innocent civilians. Trump lobbed 59 cruise missiles at them. Voter fraud. President Trump appoints a commission chaired by Vice President Pence to investigate voter fraud. Democrats squeal, there's nothing to see here. We'll see. School choice. May. Trump Education Department creates a school choice plan to give states the option of implementing it. Religious liberty, the Johnson Amendment. This is very important. On the annual National Day of Prayer, President Trump signs an executive order loosening IRS restrictions on political activities by religious tax-exempt organizations. This Johnson Amendment is unconstitutional. And I don't have time for the soundbite. But anyhow, Supreme Court, keeping with pivotal campaign promises, President Trump puts a true constitutionalist on the U.S. Supreme Court, fulfilling the legacy of Antonin Scalia. Justice Gorsuch takes the oath. Border security. Illegal border crossings decreased 40% in the first month, and illegal crossings were down 73% by the 100th day of his office. Offshore drilling. He signed an executive order to extend offshore drilling. Made in the USA, the president signs the Buy American and Hire American executive order. Sanctuary cities. President Trump signs an executive order to cut funding to so-called sanctuary cities. Troop levels. The president gives Secretary of Defense James Mattis authority to set troop levels himself in Iraq and Syria. The mother of all bombs is dropped on Afghanistan. VA reform, we've been going through it. Local school control, back on camera. Free trade, drain the swamp, Dodd-Frank rollback. This is all part of the first year of Trump, for which we give thanks, Joe. And just let's say,
it would never happen if Hillary had won, Vic.
Only for Trump, for which we all are grateful. Thank you, God, and amen.
Stagnation? You know, another year with no raise. Then let State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand help you get to a better state with a discount double check that can stretch your hard-earned dollars a little farther. Sonia will go through your car insurance to make sure you're getting all the discounts you deserve. Discounts that could add up to 40% and put a few hundred extra dollars in your pocket. Sound good? Then get your budget to a better state by calling State Farm agent Sonia Mori in DeLand today. Discounts may vary state to state.
You've been listening to Trump Talk Live, making America great again, 1 hour at a time. Follow us at Volusia County Republican Party on Facebook or go to our website, TrumpTalkLive.com, for updates. Join your Trump-Publican hosts, Vic Baker and Tony Ledbetter, for another fearless edition of Trump Talk Live next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on WNDB 1150 AM and 93.5 FM. Trump Talk Live is presented each week by the Republican Party of Volusia County, where we the people have the right voice when it comes to defending America's founding values. In God we trust, in America we believe.
The Republican Executive Committee of Volusia County is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Southern Stone Station.
Uber under scrutiny. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Keeping a hack attack secret could land Uber under federal investigation. Fox's Rachel Sutherland is live in Washington.
Lisa, the Federal Trade Commission is looking into the way Uber handled a massive hack last year that compromised information of at least 50 million accounts. The ride-hailing service has admitted to paying hackers $100,000 to conceal the breach. In a statement, the FTC said it's closely evaluating the serious issues raised by the company's actions. Uber says it's been in touch with the FTC and several state attorneys general and is ready to cooperate with data breach probes. Lisa?
Meantime, Rachel, Facebook says users concerned about Russian election meddling will be able to check whether anything they liked over the past 2 years ended up being tied to Russian entities. They plan to have a new portal ready in the Facebook Help Center by year's end. A former doctor for USA Gymnastics and Michigan State University says he's praying for forgiveness and healing for his victims as he pleads guilty to molesting 7 girls.
I have no animosity towards anyone. I just want healing. It's time.
Larry Nasser has more than 100 accusers in all, including several Olympic gold medalists who say he abused them during treatment. And some victims say they were silenced by officials at USA Gymnastics and Michigan State.
Victims were told they were lucky to be seen by Larry. Victims were patronized